everybody, welcome back to that car vlog channel. If you don't already know, my name is Andy, and today we're going to talk about my 1994 Dodge Dakota and what it's been like to have this thing for an entire year. So let's get on with it. That's right, just a little bit over a year ago, and at the time of this recording that means a couple of weeks, August of 2019, I picked up this 1994 Dodge Dakota SLT. Traded my 1996 Kia Sportage for it, and as much as I liked that Sportage, as great a car as it was, I'm super thrilled that I got this truck. I've had some ups and downs with it, things I like, things I don't like, and we're going to go over today in this video exactly what my experience over this year has been, what I've done to the truck, and the things I want to do to the truck. So we'll go ahead and start underneath the hood of the truck, and under here we have the 5.2 liter or 318 Magnum V8 producing 225 horsepower. Like I said in the video, you could option these things with a 4-cylinder, a V6, or the V8, depending on, of course, you know, the trim level, the size of the truck, cab size, 4-wheel drive, yada yada yada. But this one is the SLT model with the 318 V8 in it, or 5.2 liter. And so far it's actually been a pretty decent engine for being high mileage. Now, I mentioned in the first video that I had a running problem shortly after getting the truck, where I pulled up to a red light and it died on me, and it took an absolute act of God to start back up, and when it did, it wanted to run real rough and had to rev it, and of course after a few minutes that smoothed out. So that concerned me for a while, but after I did it a few times, it actually has never done it to me again. And like I said, I've had it just a little over a year now. So I'm thinking maybe I had some bad gas at that time, which is entirely possible. There was already gas in the truck when I bought it, and I put a little bit in it to get it home as well. So it could have had some bad gas, and I'm sure the intake cleaner helped, spark plugs, all that stuff definitely helped. I meant to put new spark plug wires on it. I never got around to that. Doesn't seem to matter. It does have new spark plugs, a new breather filter, and a new air filter on it. That's pretty much what I did under the hood, of course, plus that intake cleaner. Excuse my terrible talking. Not much else has been under here. Regular oil changes every 3,000 miles. This has been a great truck. The only other hiccup I've found with this engine so far, and it's just my particular truck, is I've been getting in it lately and fired up, and it's only every once in a while it will want to run rough, like it's misfiring. And so I had to go and learn how to read codes on this, because it is pre-OBD2, and it told me that one of the injectors wasn't responding correctly to the signals being sent to it. So I still have to investigate that. It may just be dirty contacts. It only happens once in a while, and it goes away after I drive a little while. So I'm not extremely concerned with it right now, but I do need to investigate that soon. Also, I think the starter might be somewhat on its way out, or at least when it gets heat soaked, because it has twice, when I've turned it off and went to turn it back on, just not want to even so much as click the solenoid. So I think that might be on its way out. Of course, to look at it, it appears to be as old as the truck itself, so it's probably overdue for one, honestly. But otherwise, really, I have no complaints from this truck. It's still got plenty of power. I've not had to pull a lot with it, but it's still got plenty of power. It'll spin the rear wheels, and that's pretty good. I never could get my Chevy to do that. As far as the exterior of the truck is concerned, I really haven't done anything to it. I did give the wheels a quick, somewhat cleaning for the video, and just because I like my chrome to look good and shine. The tires are a bit dirty, but I've had it in this dirt/mud area that I found up here in Oak Ridge a couple of times, and so I've kind of been getting some enjoyment out of that. Anyway, nothing much has been done to the exterior. Obviously, it still has the same ugly, bad paint, but it's just the paint. This is nothing. It's just the paint. The body's fine. Obviously, we're missing an exterior trim piece down here. The opposite side door, the passenger side, did have one, but it started flopping around, and I ripped that off. It had some footsteps, some step-ups right here, but this one was all rotten, so I took both of them off and said I don't need them. I don't regret it. Otherwise, all I've really done was remove the tint from the inside of the windows, stickers from the outside of the back windows, and clean them up. And that's really about it. Nothing has been done to the exterior. The only thing I had to fix that you could call exterior was under the cowl. I had my wiper linkage. One of the joints broke. Apparently it's just a little plastic or nylon bushing or something. Truck's 26 years old. This thing is hot and cold all year long. It gets worn out. It broke. So I rigged that up with some washers and such and made the linkage work again. The wipers do swing out a little too far this way, and they're not perfectly synced. I don't know how to say it, but they don't follow the exact same path every time. Sometimes they go a little wider, sometimes they go a little narrower. Not a big deal. It's not like they're flying all the way over, so I don't care. Eventually I might get some new wiper linkage, but not a big deal. But like I said, exterior still looks ugly. Really haven't had an opportunity to do anything to it. Included in the ugly exterior is my tailgate, and as you can tell, it's still what it was a year ago. It still looks horrible. I don't know if somebody pulled a fifth wheel over this thing or didn't jack the fifth wheel up enough when they went to, I don't know what happened. I say fifth wheel because this thing did have a gooseneck hitch in it at one time. If I take the bed liner out, you can totally tell. Plus the multi-pin connector in the bed. It's definitely more than a typical 4-pin. But this tailgate still works almost perfectly. I'll probably end up getting some cables for it and a tailgate. I've been meaning all year to get the tailgate, just have not been able to get around to it. But it opens, it closes, it keeps things in, so it's not been a big deal. Plus, when I do get one, I want to make sure that I get one that has the integrated third brake light. You know, before recently, with the new Jeep Gladiator, the only truck I've ever known to have a third brake light in the tailgate was this first generation Dodge Dakota, and only on certain, I'm assuming, higher trims like the SLT. A lot of lowers actually did not have this. So I like that. I want to make sure I find a tailgate with that third brake light. Otherwise, once again, nothing else has been done to the exterior. This is just the rear end representation of that. Although, you might see one thing on the exterior. It's down here, and I'm not actually going to touch it because it's hot. We've got an exhaust tip that's a little dirty. It should be shiny, but it's dirty because, once again, I've been playing. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And now we're going to get down and go underneath the truck and look right here. This is the Borla Pro XS Muffler that I had put on this truck. Now when I got it, this had the factory muffler, and it was gone, riddled with holes. The end of the exhaust pipe was all rotten away, and although it sounded good, it sounds better now, and it has no more holes. Now there used to be a catalytic converter right about here, but when I had the truck at the muffler shop, they called and said that they were showing pressures in, ahead and behind the cat that suggested it was starting to clog up and go bad, and since there's no O2 sensors here, cutting it out doesn't matter. And we're in Tennessee, so it also still doesn't matter in the state of Tennessee. So needless to say, I said pull the cat. So now I have a nice free-flowing catless exhaust with a Borla muffler, and it sounds pretty darn good. Here, I'll let you hear it. Also under the truck, I'm hoping you can see, it got 4 new shocks, one on every corner. If you can see them, they're the blue things, because the old ones were absolutely shot. And these were an absolute chore to replace. Excuse me while I get up. Hardest shocks I've ever replaced. I also put some on the front. You can maybe see the top of the blue shaft here where it bolts on. Removing this old one required an angle grinder. I got a video on that. I'll make sure to put a link to that into the description. In fact, I'm going to link every video about this truck in the description below. I'll put a few select videos at the end of the video to click on, but I'll put a link in the description to every video that's actually about this truck. And on to the interior of the truck. Now, if we first look at the dash here, it shows me having 194,000 miles. More than that, but 194,000 miles. I got it with 187, so I've put 7,000 miles on it in a year. That's mainly because up until March, I was not daily driving this thing to work and back, and then circumstances arose and I had to start doing that. Things that have been done in the interior, we took the factory radio out. It was going completely cattywampus. And I put in this JVC unit from Walmart. It was about $35. But it's got what I need. There's no CD player, but it's got the USB input, auxiliary input. It's actually made to sync directly to Spotify and iHeart and Pandora, or just simply Bluetooth to your phone. And it's a Bluetooth phone as well. So I've actually got a mic up here, and you're probably not going to see that, but I've got a mic up here, and that allows me to use this thing as a phone, which is pretty cool. So I have Bluetooth phone in a 26-year-old Dodge pickup truck. Now you may see up here there is no headliner in the truck. I've actually removed that for the purposes of redoing it, mainly because it was bad. The fabric was just rotten. You could tear it apart with a breath, and so it just had to come down. It needs to be redone. I took it out. It's just bare metal. I put all the stuff back, like the sun visors, because, well, you know, sun, and some of the other things like the grab handle, the coat hooks, the interior dome light, simply because I don't want to have to try to keep track of all that crap. If it's here, I know where it is. I know where the fasteners are. I'm not going to lose anything. Once again, like I said, this thing had some nasty tint on it when I got it. I got all that removed, and I can actually see through the back window now. You may see here, I hope you can see here, man. I can't see anything on this camera screen. You may see here, I've got a seatbelt detached. That's like moderately better. You really can't see anything. But anyway, there's no seatbelt attached here. And the reason for that is I actually had to take it down to pull this panel down, because the seat belts actually hinder it. Now, this seat belt doesn't work. The pretensioner is messed up, so you can't pull it out. And what happened was, when I took it off, it went to the floor, my very messy floor. It went down on the floor, it retracted, and of course now I can't pull it back up. But I put the bolt back so I don't lose it. So that's why there's no passenger side front seat belt mounted right now. Luckily, I rarely, if ever, actually have passengers in this truck, which is great. And that's really it. That's all that's been done to the interior of the truck. I don't have time to do things, but that's what I've done to the truck. Definitely made it better than when I got it. And there's still a lot to be done. Like I said, the headliner is in progress. Very slow progress, but it's in progress. That'll be a major improvement. I lost my floor mat. I gotta find it. It's somewhere. Truck is definitely gonna need a paint job eventually. The great thing is most of the body is straight. Now it's got a little dent here in the front of the hood. I think somebody could easily pop that out without too much trouble. I am missing a wheel center cap here on the rear passenger. I'm not really sure what happened to that. I don't know if the tire shop that put these used tires on didn't seat it all the way and it came off while I was driving, or what happened, but it's no longer there. I gotta find one. I'll come to the other side. You see there's some interior trim removed. There's an absorbent pad under the carpet. I had been getting water in this thing over the winter. My floorboards were flooding, and they haven't been recently, which is great. And if they were going to, they would have, because we've been getting a lot of rain lately. But I think what happened was, when I took this cowl panel up, I didn't put it back on correctly, and somehow it was allowing water to get in there instead of into the drains. I also ran the water hose and sprayed the drains out. The drains run right down the side behind the fenders on either side. I've made sure to clean those out, and I haven't had water get back in there yet. So eventually I'll get all that trim put in, probably when I get the headliner put in and start to get the interior put back together. Otherwise, really not a lot that I want to do to the truck. I will say, if I keep it long enough, I would probably like to lift it a few inches, because I was out here running around, and what you're seeing around you is actually very mild. I can do all of this in two-wheel drive, no problem. But I did go in some places, a few places that required four-wheel, and I could tell that I don't think the stock ride height is quite going to cut it. And the street tires definitely aren't, but the four-wheel drive is great in this thing. And I didn't get stuck once. So, but there's some challenging things that I'm not about ready to try in this thing. Like I said, if I keep it long enough, I might consider lifting it and putting some more off-road worthy tires on it. But for now, it's my daily. I spend enough money just driving this thing. Last thing I need to do. I'm considering smoking the taillights. I actually found a can of spray tint at Walmart on clearance, and I went ahead and bought it because it was the last one. I cannot find aftermarket lights for these things, so I'm thinking about painting those. If I do and it turns out I hate them, the stuff can be peeled off if it looks like crap. If for some reason I do damage the lights though, you can find these things dirt cheap all day long everywhere on the internet. Plus, you know, auto parts yards. These things are a dime a dozen. Up front, the headlights, I attempted to restore these headlights. You can tell they're still hazy. They're a little bit better than they were when I got them, but they're just not great. I may end up buying new housings eventually. Like I said, eventually. Just because those might be a little too far gone. I knew something about this trim that used to be black and now it's gray. This thing is, you know, it's aged. It looks ugly, but it's fine. Might also take the wiper arms off and repaint those, because, you know, like this one here is pretty bad. Anyway, that's really all there is to say about what I've done and what I want to do. Let's get this thing out and take it for a spin, shall we? Another interior item I'll show you is right here. Now this is, or used to be anyway, the seatbelt buckle for the driver's seat. Well, interesting story. I went into Oak Ridge one day, buckled up as I always do, to pick something up, and I was actually in a time crunch. I was getting to the place literally 10 minutes before they closed. Went to unbuckle, and this thing would not undo. It would not turn me loose no matter what I did. So I had to wriggle all of this out upwards through my seatbelt and climb out of my seatbelt and get out of the truck. It was a bit of a challenge, but I did it. I haven't gotten around to getting another seatbelt buckle or even swapping these. So all I've been doing is just plugging my seatbelt into this one here for the middle row. It's literally 8 inches away, and by the time the seatbelt stretches, it's right about here. So it's really not a big deal. It clicks right in and it does the job. I've never used this for a middle seatbelt, at least not yet. So I'm not really concerned, but eventually I will get another one of these. But yeah, that was quite interesting. So this is bad. This needs to be replaced. I also wanted to point out another issue that had arisen, and actually it presented itself in the first video on this truck, the initial review. And what happened was, when I was driving, I turned a corner, punched the gas, and the shifter just jumped up into neutral. Although that's reverse, but jumped into neutral and revved the engine real high. And I was thinking, okay, what's going on here? Why is my shifter jumping? And I mentioned that I thought maybe the transmission was slipping. It's like, oh no, what have I done? Have I bought a lemon? Turns out, if you drop the shifter into drive and it's on the D indicator, that is not correct. It needs to be positioned over the left side of the second gear indicator. This thing does not have a shift cable. It has mechanical linkage, much like my old Chevy C10 does. So I'm thinking maybe something's loose, maybe there's a bad bushing, something stretched, whatever. And so it doesn't fall perfectly on the letters anymore. So this is where drive is on the dash. This is where drive actually is on this truck. So nothing wrong with the transmission. I probably just need to replace something small, or not worry about it, just know my truck. So no transmission issues, thank God. Alright, now let's drop this thing down into actual drive and let's actually take it for a drive now. I found my headband so I can actually do some POV now. This is I like this. Oh, and it's going to be kind of bumpy because, well, I'm still in my little play area that I found. Not discovered. As this was definitely discovered and paths created long before I figured out it was here. In fact, I'm not quite certain about this. I'd say this at one time was supposed to be developed into something industrial or businessy, but it appears that it has sat here a very, very long time with zero progress. Because if you were to come up here and look around, there's fire hydrants that have old peeling paint, and I mean, this stuff is overgrown so high it's crazy. This actually was supposed to be a road, it appears, and it's actually just a very rough, wide gravel path. You see there's big blue light poles up here. This was supposed to be like a side road, an auxiliary road or something. So I don't know what's up. I don't know if it's something that City of Oak Ridge owns or has abandoned or what the case is, but this is kind of cool. Anyhow, enough of that. Let's get out here on the pavement, which is actually not very far away, and talk about this truck. Alright, let's get out here onto the pavement now. That is so rough back there that 5 miles an hour is too fast. Alright, so what has this truck been like to drive and own? Well, it's really not been that bad, actually. And it still has a little bit of squirrely feeling up in the front end, like it probably needs some more front end parts. But it's not terrible. I'm okay, it's questionable, but it's fine for me. Now, as far as fuel economy, I've noticed that I'm getting roughly 16 miles to the gallon. My highest average has been 16.7, maybe 16.9, close to 17. And that's with mostly highway driving. I'm definitely not going to get that this week because I've just been out playing in this thing, and that's just not going to happen. But I mean, that's not too bad. It's a 26-year-old V8 pickup truck with 197,000 miles on it, 194. I apologize. And yeah, I mean, 16 miles a gallon, that's actually not much worse than my wife is getting in her 2015 Town and Country. I think she can average about 18 combined city and highway. I'm sure if I did mostly city, this thing would probably be like 12 or 13. It wouldn't be that great at all. As far as the automatic transmission, it still shifts just fine. Like I said, as long as you have the indicator in the correct place, not a problem. Four-wheel drive works. It works great, both high and low. Like I said, even with these used street tires I've got in this thing, it actually did really good. Also, the AC seems to work pretty good. I did have to put some Freon in it, but once I did that, it works really well. And you know, when I don't want the windows down or can't have them down, it's great to have. It was especially great to have with the headliner being bad before I took it out. You drive down the highway, and I mean, it would just blow crap all in your eyes. The foam underneath was just as deteriorated as the fabric, and it get in your eyes. AC is great to have, and the wife can't stand to be too hot, so she can actually stand to come with me in the truck, which is yet another plus. Now I'm actually going to jump I'm actually going to get my cell phone out. I've downloaded an app. I'm curious to see what the 0 to 60 time is on this truck. Alright, so I've downloaded an app called Drag Racer. It's a free app that uses GPS on your phone to measure these things. Use 0 to 60. I believe it measures stopping distance, I don't know, but it measures quarter miles and whatnot. And then that beep means it's ready. Now I don't know how accurate this is. This is actually the first time I've used it to measure this. And you can see it already has no idea what's going on. This is 1 or 2 miles per hour sitting up here in the green. So I'm not really sure. It says my top speed is 2 miles an hour. That's great. And I'm literally sitting still. Anyway, it's not draggy. It's not a V-Box. I can't afford any of that stuff. So I found something for free. I'm going to try to do this with as little wheel spin as possible. It's going to be slightly uphill, but it is what it is. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so I couldn't make it to 60 before it started to get dangerous, and so I apparently got to 58. So I probably could have pushed. If I pushed into the second, I'm afraid I would have flipped it though. I got to 58 miles per hour in 7.7 seconds, going uphill, and that's with a fair amount of wheel spin. Could definitely have been worse, I must say. I didn't expect this old truck to do even that good. 7.7's respectable-ish. I'm going to try to run this back downhill. I'm actually going to add another 1/10 of a second, so 7.8. Because I got to 58 miles per hour. So I'd say to 60 it would have been 7.8. So we're going to add that 1/10 of a second. And we're going to do this again. And this time it's going to go the opposite direction, downhill. Here we go. Hell, it just did not like that. Well, I'm not going to try that too many times because I have to replace every drop of gas that I put in this thing. But with that uphill incline, 7.7 to 58 miles an hour, general idea of what this truck is capable of doing. But I'm not going to stress it too much. It's an original engine with 194,000 miles, and like I said, I have to replace every drop of gas that I burn in this thing. So I think that's the end of that. Alright, so my mic decided it wanted to take a crap, so now I get to just talk loudly and play with the audio when I edit. Yay. Anyhow, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed making it. Like I said, I've greatly enjoyed the 7,000 miles I've put on this truck. From what I understand, people who have these really do like them. They're great trucks, and so far it's proven that to me. Even now with 194,000 miles. I definitely don't regret getting this over my Kia Sportage, although I wish I could have kept it. I'd be interested to see what that would do off-road. Maybe one day. Anyhow, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you'll know when another video goes up. Also, follow me on Facebook and Instagram at that car vlog channel. I don't post up on there as much as I'd like, but I always put up when a new video comes out, so there's 2 ways for you to get notified. 3, really. Also, I'm always looking for cars to review and drive on the channel. Anything cool, old, weird, odd, rare. Whatever you got, if it's interesting, send me a message if you're in the greater Knoxville area. Who knows, I might be interested to make something happen. I'll put a link to a list in the description as well, to a list of cars that I put together that I may be interested in reviewing. Some of them a bit more ambitious than others. Also, again, I'll put a link in the description to every video I've done about this truck, from the first initial review up until now. Once again, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Y'all take care. Stay healthy. God bless y'all. And I'll leave you with the one thing this truck does that my Chevy never would.